So given the recent You're So Funny trend on TikTok, we wanted to do a video talking about what to ask coaches and what to look for when you're on a recruiting visit. Because I saw a lot of comments about people really worried about either the school they're committed to or worried about wanting to play college softball because they're scared of, what the environment might look like when they get there. So the biggest thing for parents specifically, when you're traveling with your kid to these recruiting visits, really pay attention to how the coaches and the current players interact with each other and really pay attention to that environment. You can pick up a lot of things from that. Again, really make sure that you're paying attention to that and not necessarily, the glitz and glam and everything that they're going to be showing you because they want to impress you. That's the point of those visits. But, try to look beyond, whether it's the nice facilities or this is the gear you're going to get, like all this stuff that a kid is going to be like, oh my gosh. You as a parent also have the responsibility to be looking deeper into that culture and the environment.
And that goes for whether you're watching practice or a game, or if it's a team dinner. You want to be paying attention to all of those aspects of the team environment because that's going to give you the best insight to what that team is actually like.
And then another thing you can do too is paying attention to some coaches do, interviews, and you can really watch to see how the coaches talk about their players, how the coaches talk about the other coaches. You can watch previous games or watch games as they're happening, see how the coaches are treating the players. Something that my mom asked the coaches directly when we were going on our recruiting visits was how they set the culture there. Some responses can be weaker than others, I guess is the way to put it, but that's super important, and how the head coach responds to that question can also tell you a lot. So just make sure you're asking questions. Like sometimes people go into these things and don't ask questions, like ask away. Like that's what they're there for. And you can pick up a lot of things from that.
Other questions you can ask are, what do you do to help prepare these players for life? If your daughter has an idea of what they want to major in, make sure you're asking, have other players majored in this and played softball? Is this possible? Because this major, if you're majoring in nursing, you might have a lot more conflicts than other players. And we want to make sure that the coach ahead of time knows that and is okay with that, because you don't want to be put in a situation where all of a sudden that's not okay. So the more you can ask up front and try and get answers, especially if it's, in text or in an email and writing, right, the better off you're going to be.
And I think kind of adding to that too, in like asking how they're going to prepare your daughter for life, or if, the athlete is asking that, you just really pay attention to the responses, because those are so important and so telling. When my parents asked Coach Gasso and, the staff, like essentially like what their goal is or what the, how they're going to prepare you, things like that. Coach Gasso's goal is to turn girls into women. Like that is the goal. Yes, we want to win national championships. That's great. She wants to prepare you for the real world. And she has done that with every single person that's come through here. So just really paying attention to if they actually talk about the players as people and not just, it's not a transactional relationship. If you get the vibe that they're only wanting my daughter here because she's good at softball, like turn around. That can be a tell that they might not give a they might not care about your daughter.
Past her talents.
We're gonna start ranting again. So you also want to be able to utilize the players that are there too. So asking them questions like, what's your favorite part or favorite thing about playing here, about being here, about living here? Like you are going to be moving to a different place. So, figuring out what they like about that. And if you even like where that location is, what's something they would change, what their days look like, or just overall what their experience has been like so far. What do they think of the culture? What do they think of the coach? Try to get just as much information from them as you can. And also, again, pay attention to body language, how they answer the questions. That's where you're going to actually get a little bit more of the truth. If they're just answering very short, or they're kind of, looking at their friends or their other teammates like, oh, like pay attention to those things. Same for parents, but yeah.
Also, make sure you're paying attention to side conversations. So maybe you're kind of like hanging out with one group, but then you hear another group talking. Like, what are they talking about? Just kind of pay attention to those little things. And whether that's at practice or at a team dinner or wherever, pay attention to those things, because a lot of times, the players are going to try and put on a good show because they want recruits to come to their school. They do want their program to do well. So you want to try and catch them when they're being themselves and just kind of talking amongst themselves to see what it's really like. Another one you can do if you happen to be at a home game, see if there's any alumni around. right? Are there a bunch of alumni around? Are they there? Are they really supportive of the team? How do they interact with the team and coaches after the game? Because that will really show you a lot as well.
Especially if like they continue to talk highly about their coach after the, once they become alums and after they've graduated, that should also tell you a lot as well. Maybe, not always talking about it, but if they bring up like, gosh, I just love this coach, or I'm really missing this, whatever, that could also be telling.
I think the main thing is just to really pay attention to all the nonverbal communication and how genuine the answers are, and to make sure that you're just asking every question, no matter how small it may seem, or maybe you think it doesn't really matter. Maybe that's a question that really determines whether or not that's the right school for you. So no question is too small. No interaction should be unnoticed, because all of that adds up to the culture of that team.
I also think there is sometimes like that gut feeling, both good and bad, of like if you start to get an off vibe, whether about the coach or just the overall program or school, you listen to it, because it's usually right. So
100%. Absolutely
trust your
listen to
gut.
it.